Welcome back to Weird NASCAR Rumors. If you're new to this series, then there's plenty of content for you to check out in the Weird NASCAR Rumors playlist on my channel. In today's video, we're talking about rumors from 2010, and there are some fun ones here, so let's jump in. Leading off today, we have Jeff Gordon and Walmart. There was a chance that in 2011, Walmart would be replacing DuPont as Jeff Gordon's primary sponsor. Of course, DuPont wasn't going away entirely, but they did plan to cut back their sponsorship on the 24 car. Actually, as I read through this one, I was kind of surprised that it never came true. There was a lot of talk about Walmart really wanting to get into NASCAR around this time. Their arch-rival Target had been a sponsor at Ganassi for a long time, and the Walmart brand seemed to be a great fit for the sport. And if you're going to break into NASCAR with a major sponsorship deal, then who better to do it with than Jeff Gordon? In the spring of 2010, negotiations started with Hendrick Motorsports to make the retail giant the primary sponsor for the 24 car, and they continued through the end of August. Apparently, NASCAR had been trying to attract Walmart for years at this point, and this time it looked like it might actually happen. Then suddenly at the end of August, Walmart issued a statement directly addressing the possibility, and saying that it wouldn't be happening, which was really a big loss for the sport in my mind. Hendrick would go on to sign the AARP Drive to End Hunger campaign that sponsored the 24 car in 2011, which was a sponsorship that I always thought was pretty odd, even if I did think the paint schemes were cool. While Walmart has been involved in NASCAR merchandising, they haven't really made a serious entry into sponsorship. They have dabbled on a few occasions. In 2012, Bill Elliott made the final start of his Cup Series career at Daytona, driving a number 50 Walmart Chevy for Turner Motorsports to commemorate Walmart's 50th anniversary. And in 2024, they made a few appearances on Justin Haley's number 51 car for Rick Ware Racing. Again, I'm kind of surprised that this one didn't work out, and I always thought that the AARP sponsorship was a bit odd on the 24 car, but that is not the only sponsorship combination that we'll be talking about in today's video. Because next up, we have the man who was famously sponsored by Budweiser. The man we all remember in that beautiful red car with the king of beers on the hood. Yep, Kasey Kahne. Wait. You thought I was talking about someone else. I was talking about Kasey Kahne. But speaking of the other guy who drove a Budweiser car, did you know that Dale Earnhardt Jr. actually wrote a book about his struggle with concussions and his recovery from them? It's called Racing to the Finish, and it's actually a really good book, and if you want a free audiobook version of it, then you can use my link in the description to get a free trial with Audible. I'm sure that you know, like me, there is nothing more valuable than time, and I am thrilled to be affiliated with Audible because they've given me time back. Look, I have 2 kids, my 9-to-5 job, and I'm in grad school on top of that. I don't have time to sit down and read a book, but with Audible, I can be listening to the books that I want to read while I'm driving to work, at the gym, or doing the dishes. It's given me time back to read and learn, which is just awesome. Racing to the Finish isn't a really long book, and if you have a 30-minute commute to work, then you can finish it in a week just while you're driving to and from work. And Amazon Prime members will get to pick out a second book with their free 30-day trial. So, check out my link below and get your free 30-day trial of Audible and listen to Dale Jr. tell his story. It's a great way to support the channel, and I know you'll enjoy it. Okay. So let's talk about Kasey Kahne. In January, before the season even started, there was already talk that Kahne would be on his way to a new team, but at the time, it was Stewart-Haas Racing that was pointed to as the most likely destination. I actually think that as a driver, Kahne would have been a really great fit for SHR. His dirt racing and USAC backgrounds would have made him a driver that would have attracted Tony Stewart, and I honestly think he would have fit in much better at SHR than he ever did at Hendrick. Fast forward to April, and the big news breaks that Kasey Kahne has signed with Hendrick Motorsports. But that was really only where the silly season headlines began, because there was a catch. Hendrick signed Kahne to drive the 5 car, but Mark Martin was still under contract to drive the 5 car through the 2011 season. So Hendrick would either have to find a temporary home for Kahne for the following season, or get one of the most respected drivers in the garage area to leave early. This was when Stewart-Haas Racing came back into the picture. Hendrick and SHR had a technical alliance at the time, and putting Kahne in Hendrick equipment, even if it was a satellite team, was the most desirable solution. But there was a problem. SHR needed help with sponsorship if they were going to start a third team. Neither of SHR's 2 cars were fully sponsored for 2011 at the time, and they were set to lose Old Spice from Tony Stewart's car at the end of the season. So getting the 2 teams they had funded was the top priority. So if SHR was going to be an uphill battle, what other possibilities did that leave? Well, one idea that was presented was sending Kahne to RCR for 1 year. Obviously, RCR was not a Hendrick-affiliated team, but they were a Chevy team. Kevin Harvick was in the midst of a contract year, which always seemed to be tense when he was at RCR. Check out my original Weird NASCAR Rumors video, along with my videos on Weird NASCAR Rumors from 2005 and Replacing Rusty Wallace for more on that. So, maybe if Harvick were to leave the 29 car, Kahne would be a 1-year, highly talented stopgap driver, while RCR looked for a more permanent replacement. This rumor didn't last very long, as Richard Childress insisted that he was focusing on re-signing Harvick and not pursuing Kasey Kahne. And eventually, Harvick would re-sign. Another possibility that came up was sending Kahne to the 09 car for James Finch. This actually wouldn't have been the first time that a Hendrick-affiliated driver was in some way farmed out to Finch's small team. Remember, Brad Keselowski was once a Hendrick prospect and got his first Cup Series win driving the 09 car. This rumor also didn't last very long. The idea was also presented that Kahne could just stay in the 9 car for 1 more year as a lame duck. This probably would have been the easiest solution in a lot of ways, but it doesn't appear that it was ever really taken seriously. Another interesting rumor was that Junior Motorsports could come up to the Cup Series. This never really went anywhere. But the interesting thing is that when Kelly Earnhardt Miller made a comment on the possibility, the idea had been floated by someone somewhere along the way that the seat wouldn't necessarily be for Kasey Kahne, but for Mark Martin. Finally, as we all remember, Kasey Kahne ended up being farmed out to Red Bull for 2011. In a lot of ways, most notably the fact that Red Bull ran Toyotas and not Chevys, this seemed like the least likely outcome. But it was ultimately what happened. There was talk that Red Bull could switch to Chevy, and also rumors that Mark Martin would be going to Red Bull instead of Kahne. In spite of the fact that Red Bull was a Toyota team, Rick Hendrick said that they made the most sense in the end. He referred to them as a top-flight team with a sponsorship that was okay with having Kahne on a 1-year deal. He also said that of the organizations that were discussed, 3 of them were planning to start a new team for Kahne, and 2 of them wanted to keep that additional team beyond the 2011 season, but would have needed help from Hendrick finding sponsorship to guarantee that funding beyond 2011. So Kasey Kahne did a 1-year stint at Red Bull in 2011 and then moved to Hendrick Motorsports, and the rest is history. Moving on to our next weird rumor, we have Earnhardt Ganassi to Ford. Obviously, connecting the Earnhardt name to any manufacturer other than Chevy is considered blasphemy in NASCAR circles. But the same can't be said for the Ganassi name. Really, if you look past the fact that the Earnhardt name was still attached to the team at this time, this move made a lot of sense. Ganassi did not have any affiliation with Ford at the time, but did have a history with Ford and CART, and would later run Fords in IMSA. Also, Earnhardt Ganassi was in the midst of a solid season, having 4 wins as a team while really being a 4th-string Chevy team, behind Hendrick, Stewart-Haas, and Richard Childress. Ford wanted to move Ganassi from a 4th priority team to a 2nd priority team, behind only Roush Fenway. Remember, Penske was still with Dodge at this point. There were also sources that claimed that Ford was offering a much better deal from a financial standpoint than what Chevy was offering. Honestly, I kind of wish this one happened. I always really liked Chip Ganassi, and I think it would have been cool to see what his team would have done as a higher priority team in the eyes of a manufacturer. Also, if Ford had a lot of focus on Ganassi, would Penske have returned to Ford in 2013? It's fun to think about. Okay, let's do some rapid-fire honorable mentions to wrap up. Speaking of Penske, the Volkswagen to NASCAR rumors resurfaced, and Penske was connected to them. For more on those Volkswagen rumors, check out my video on Weird NASCAR Rumors from 2009. I've put the Weird NASCAR Rumors playlist in the description. And it looks like one of the sponsors that Richard Childress was trying to sign for Kevin Harvick was UPS, which would have been really cool. I miss seeing UPS in NASCAR. Anyway, that's what I've got for you today. Please like and subscribe to help grow the channel, and feel free to leave a comment and discuss some of these rumors with me. Also, share with a friend and go get that free trial from Audible. Thanks for watching and have a great day.